Hello and welcome to my channel. I'm going to be showing you something a little different today. You see, I had a random beehive just show up here, but this hive was not ready to be occupied, or so I thought. But the bees had different plans. You see, I had previously taken a few frames out of this hive because I needed them somewhere else, but the bees moved in and decided that that would do just fine. And that's why they built up this comb hanging in the place of those frames. So what I'm going to do is kind of reset everything going on here, put in the frames that I want, and remove these pieces of wax. When bees create wax from their bodies, it comes out very pure and white. And over time, the shade will begin to darken as it's used by the bees. You can see this in the piece of wax that's off to the left of this clump. You can see it's a little bit darker than the other pieces. In the same way that a rug would get dirty over time just from being walked on and being used, the beeswax will become dingy over time. That doesn't exactly mean that it's unsanitary, but it's just not at the same level of purity as this brand new stuff. All I'm doing here is just very carefully removing these pieces of wax because I want to be gentle with the bees that are surrounding them. I'm also being very cautious in case I come across the queen. Because if you watch my videos, you know that this is where the queen will lay her eggs. Now so far, looking through this wax, I've not found any eggs yet, so I'm not actually destroying any of her hard work. I did find a little bit of honey. And look at that, I found a friend too. Now what's interesting about this process is if I find honey in this wax, which I did, I can actually reclaim that and collect it for later. I wouldn't call it an easy process, as I do have to crush the wax and warm it up just slightly so the honey will drip out naturally. But it is totally something you can do, and if you're considering getting into small-time beekeeping, it's one of the best ways to collect honey for yourself. Also, if you are interested in getting into beekeeping, you should check out my affiliate links to products that I use, and those are in the description. If you're not interested in beekeeping, you should check it out anyway, because I always include a fun one. If you haven't already, please like and subscribe. It lets me know that you're enjoying this content and I can continue to produce more. Also, if you're enjoying this content, would you share it with your friends and family? It really helps my channel to grow. Thank you so much. So what I'm doing here, I gotta clean up these frames. As I said, this was an abandoned hive before, so these bees just decided to move in. And they've been doing a remarkable job of cleaning this hive up on their own, but they could really use my help. On this frame, you're going to see there's a lot of what we call wax moth. It's this strange web that's all over the frame, and you can see there's cocoons as well that are along the wooden edges. So I got to clean all this up. Wax moth is a destructive species that moves into beehives, and they actually consume the wax, or rather their larvae do. So they'll take a good beehive and lay their eggs in the frames. When those eggs hatch, the worms, or larvae, will crawl throughout the hive and eat everything in their path, meaning the wax. And when that happens, they leave a small trail of silk behind them. Once they've eaten their fill, they cocoon themselves up, and later on they will emerge as a fully adult wax moth. And these things are crazy. If you've ever seen Wreck-It Ralph, they remind me of the cybugs. I'll show you what I mean. So anyway, these bees are responding pretty well to the work that I'm doing. But then I noticed that the box that they're in was actually pretty poor quality, so I grabbed another one and I cleaned it out pretty well, and now I'm going to put their hive inside of this box. After all, if I want this hive to stick around for a long time, I want them to have the best hive possible. Okay, it's a little hard to see on this frame, but do you see this little lump of white wax pushing out from the white foundation? I'll circle it right here. That's how you know this hive wants to grow. They built that all on their own, and they're starting to make it beautiful again. Here's another example of the bees that are doing their repair work. You see, on one side of this frame is darker colored wax. That would be the left side of the frame. This side right here is older wax, and over here is foundation. And this other side of the frame looked very similar to that in the past, but now they filled in this area with white wax, and the other side, right here, which was not damaged by the wax moth, is still original. Now this frame was originally a wax foundation frame instead of a plastic foundation frame. Those are two different kinds of frames that beekeepers will use. I generally buy plastic foundations because I like how durable they are, and it holds up well with the lifespan of my hives. But this one here was entirely wax, and as you can see, there's wax moth webbing all over it. They destroyed this frame. But what I find interesting, once I clean it up a little bit, the bees have actually done a pretty remarkable job of rebuilding it. Even if the process is a bit slow, they're still getting after it and making it happen. And you can see that here. There's a little chunk of wax hanging right there. So, as an experiment, I'm going to mark this frame with the date. And keep in mind, I filmed this quite a while back, so it actually was May the 13th. And that way when I come back here, I can see what their progress has been in rebuilding that frame. Okay, this next part is a little bit tricky. I'm trying to get these bees from their old box to walk into the new one, but I'm having a little bit of trouble doing so, and I'm pretty sure I had to scrape them with my hand to get them to move in. But let's watch. Okay, so you can see they're starting to move on their own. It's interesting how they all follow one another. This usually happens when they can start to smell the queen's pheromone and they know that she's in the other box, and they'll follow her anywhere. So now I'm just going to help them out a little bit by encouraging them into this box. There's a lot of dirt and junk at the bottom of the box that I'm getting them out of, and I really would rather not have that on the new frames that I'm putting in. I'm using a bit of smoke to try and encourage them out, and the last few remaining are beginning to move. Now all that's left to do is put in the last two frames and close up the hive. As always, thank you for watching. I hope you enjoyed this video, and if you do, be sure to check out my other content. I post a new video every Sunday, and please be sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Thank you for watching.